I will call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:32 p.m. on January 10th, 2023. All commissioners are currently present. This meeting is being held virtually, and if any technical interruption occurs and the meeting suddenly ends, it will not be resumed, and all items will be automatically continued at the next scheduled meeting date. Also, this meeting is being recorded, and if anyone else is recording this meeting, you're required to let me know. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes, December 27th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from December 27th.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion to approve, seconded. Any further discussion on that? Okay. I wasn't here, so I don't have anything to add. All right, so we'll vote on that motion. I'll do a roll call vote. Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Fletcher?
Aye.
Rachel?
Abstain.
And I'm also abstaining. So that motion passes with 3 ayes. All right. So we don't have any public meetings or public hearings tonight. Nice little break, I guess. And so under other business and enforcement updates, first we have Greenfield Wetlands Protection Ordinance Review. I'm not sure if anyone is coming to this meeting with some action items they want to talk about on the ordinance review. I'll be honest that I have not done anything with that since the last meeting I was at. So
I forget, did we set, I feel like we did set a date for some sort of commentary, but that slipped. Can we maybe like put another tickler on our calendars to address that? I think what happened was we had a date and then we were busy and it kept getting pushed, but
yeah, and then we didn't, and then I think there were only like 3 of us at a meeting. And yeah. Fletcher, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that that was for the intermittent stream buffer specifically in our bylaws. If just in case we're re-adding it here.
Yeah, that was the topic we were going to discuss. Kristen, do you have a proposed date when we should?
Travis, sorry, Fletcher had made like a comment about just a very simple rewarding. I don't know if we want to, or if we want to spend more time researching it first.
I mean, we could talk about it now.
Yeah, I figured now we'd have the time to do it.
Yeah, we actually have time.
At least make a decision about intermittent streams.
Yeah, Fletcher, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, like, I read over my comments in the meeting folder, and I sort of like am not fresh on sort of what I was reading beforehand to make those comments, but essentially it's I mean, I support reducing the buffer to 100 feet for intermittent streams, just kind of based on my experience here with the commission and reading some other bylaws. But ideally, I was saying that it would be great if we had some discretion to sort of, and we do, in a general sense of whether to enforce or not to enforce, but like to sort of adjust the buffer. And I think we may have that discretion as well. So, but that was my only other comment is, for example, with vernal pools, I know it's a different topic, but it'd be great to have like discretion on buffers for those. And again, I think we do, but it's just not necessarily written in that way to our bylaws. But I could see a more sensitive pool, depending on what's upland and whatnot, needing a larger buffer or something. But anyway, yeah, my comments are in there if you want to check them out. But
Yeah, and I guess I guess my thinking on the discretion would be that like the buffer would probably be the same, but the discretion would be like what 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 would be allowable within that buffer might differ based on the impacts that it would have to the vernal pool and like the quality of the vernal pool. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I feel the same about the intermittent stream thing, like holding, I mean, RFA standards in the Wetlands Protection Act are really intense, and having our applicants be forced to meet the same standards for intermittent streams and then not even necessarily applying that to all of our applicants, it's just like a little challenging, just the paperwork alone.
And people not knowing what's allowable and what's not.
Yeah, the ambiguity and the lack of consistency, it's difficult. I'm not opposed to any of it, but I just want to make sure that what we're presenting is not too far out of the regulatory realm for the rest of the town bylaw and city ordinances. I guess I don't want to be an outlier.
Yeah, I was just looking at the ordinance, looking at exemptions and exceptions to see what was in there.
The only other thing that I was thinking, and not necessarily to change anything, but I mean, it's just that sometimes we've run into a couple times, I think one time recently, where the stream says that it's intermittent and we actually find that seems like it's year round, and so do we want to be able to be flexible about streams that seem like they're maybe?
Well, I think that's where, like with the last one around the rug manufacturing, like that one, I think that's where it falls back to, if it is flowing all year round, then you look at like the watershed area. And I think that one was under the threshold. So like if it's under a certain watershed area, it's called intermittent, whether it flows all year or not.
Yeah, I
So-
think that burden is on the applicant to demonstrate to us whether it's perennial or intermittent, and the definition is in the Wetlands Protection Act, whether it's, like you said, if over a certain threshold for the watershed area and percent underlain by sand and gravel and whatever else that's in that definition.
Mhm.
I guess my biggest concern is I don't want to, I mean, it's tricky, like obviously we're tasked with protecting the natural or the jurisdictional resource areas within our city, but I don't want to make it too difficult for applicants to prepare something without having to hire a third-party consultant, so that they don't come to us and we end up with a stack of enforcement orders because they were confused by the process or didn't understand the regulations. I don't know. That's basically where my thoughts are coming from, trying to find that balance.
I guess I have a question for Mitch, which is, Mitch, do you think you could see if you could find like minutes from the Conservation Commission when it was amended the last time to add the intermittent streams in, and like the 200-foot riverfront area to intermittent streams?
Yeah, I could look for that just to see their reasoning at the time.
Yeah, just to like see how because I think if we removed it, I think we should know like what the reasoning was and whether we think that reasoning still applies or not, and be able to like reason through that.
Yeah, I can
That
just
is
Good
go
idea.
such a good idea. I remember there was, I don't want to say the name of the company, but there was a proposal for a big box store up on King Highway. And gosh, that might have been like right when we became incorporated as a city. So that might have been around 2004 or 2003 or something.
Yeah.
And that was when our bylaw changed. So it might have been, I don't know. I don't know if they were related or not, but that's a really good point.
I like
Yeah.
that idea a lot. I also think that we should make sure that what is like evaluating what's in this for enforcement, and it's way easier to enforce stricter guidelines within jurisdictional areas that already exist than is to extend jurisdictional areas, it seems to me. So like the 25-foot no disturb zone, like that could be 50 feet, and it would be easier for us to, to actually enforce that and follow that through than adding jurisdictional area onto places that the Wetlands Protection Act doesn't. Because it would mean that properties that don't fall under Wetlands Protection Act would fall under just the city ordinance. And that's where I feel like that's why the follow through has been so inconsistent, is because when what we want to do enhances essentially like the areas and what the Wetlands Protection Act is doing, it's much easier for us to follow through with it and actually enact them. And where we try to like extend beyond that, it feels like things fall through the cracks and get in, and they're not equitably like applied to every applicant.
I just came out of a Wendell Concom meeting right before this meeting, and in that town, they regulate the entire 100-foot buffer zone as a resource area in their town under their bylaw. And they require mitigation for any work in their 100-foot buffer zone, even though it's technically upland. I mean, Army Corps regulations are not as strong as Mass Wetlands Protection Act, which is often not as strong as local ordinances. It's just the consistency issue. So I feel like whatever we have to do, we have to be able to stand behind it and apply it equally. And I feel like, I don't know, personally, I think riverfront area standards for intermittent streams are so complicated for applicants, and that I don't know.
I mean, there's also, this only complicates it further, but we could have like an exemption for like a single family home project could be exempt from riverfront area for intermittent streams. And then other projects within the riverfront area of intermittent streams would have to meet riverfront area standards. Again, that makes it more complicated. So that's not like solving a problem of, it not being a transparent process, but.
It's another great idea though. And I've seen that in other local bylaws, like, I think Amherst has something about stormwater standards. If you're not required to comply with mass stormwater standards, but you are a single family home, you have to show that there are no new point source releases in the buffer zone or something like that. They just did a revision in 2022. I can't remember exactly, but that's a great idea.
And then
Oh, go ahead. The only thing that makes me think of is when Travis, we visited the school, and on the wetlands map, we were next to a patch of BVW or something, or just a what do you call it, a freestanding wetland, but it turned out it was like a very fast flowing stream, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the same stream that's behind the old rug manufacturing.
Right, yeah.
And so, that's like another issue that I've been meaning to look into, which is like, if there's a perennial stream that isn't even on like the USGS maps, like, what does that mean? I mean, it's obviously a stream, and at that point, the watershed area is over the threshold for being a perennial.
We can talk to Mark Stinson about that too. I mean, if it's not on the USGS as a solid blue line, on the most current USGS as a solid blue line, or however it's worded in the act, I think it can still be overcome based on the stream stats, right?
Mm.
And then even field evidence, if it's not flowing for 3 consecutive days during normal growing season. I forget what the wording is, but there's like a couple ways to overcome it. But Mark can help us with the language if we want to get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that stream is weird because it's not even shown as an intermittent stream. It's not shown at all. It doesn't
Oh,
even,
really?
it's not even showing up as a stream, but it's clearly is. We were there, it was drought and this was flowing. It was going.
Mm.
Right.
So that might be a separate issue where we go to USGS and say, hey, you're missing a stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can show you where it goes.
It's wild too, because it had banks that were about 20 feet tall.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
I wonder if there's like a flood storage issue. I mean, is there a lot of like impervious surface area and basements and stormwater inputs? And I mean, what's up with that?
Well,
it's getting input from that whole sort of developed area by the Rotary, I think. Travis, is that right or no?
That might flow to a different stream.
Okay.
But well, one side flows that way, yeah. But where that was by the school, just upstream of that, it goes under Mohawk Trail on like a really long culvert diagonally under it. And I don't know how big that is because I haven't been down to look at it. And then after it goes past the school, it goes through another culvert and then it goes out to the Green River. So it's kind of between two stormwater structures there.
Mm.
But I don't know.
No, I'm worried about that.
That stream. Yeah, well, that's a separate.
Yeah.
That's something that actually very, very much interests me. So I'm gonna look into that and see.
Well, I don't know what our action items are. I mean, I'd love to like stick a
Yeah.
date on the calendar, but I'm confused at like who's tasked with action items and or is it all of us? I'm tempted to say
Oh.
the last meeting in February because that gives us a couple meeting dates, but I don't know what we're doing.
The attempt last time was just to have a specific topic and have people sort of briefed ahead of time at the meeting, and then just give your input by email to Mitch between those meetings. But that doesn't have to be the model going forward. That was just the attempt at the intermittent stream one.
Yeah, and I feel like of all the potential changes that are in this document, of possible changes to the city ordinance, I think the intermittent stream one's probably like the most difficult. Like I think the rest of it, like adding carbon sequestration as a function of wetlands, like, okay, that's fine, let's add it. Like a lot of these things aren't that thorny of an issue. I think this is like the toughest one.
Seems to be the one that comes up the most as well, out of the ones we've
Yeah.
talked about.
We even had an applicant straight up say, I think in one meeting, there's an intermittent stream and we know the ordinance says this, but you never apply it to any other applicants. So we're just going to blow that off. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. So I mean,
Yeah. So I guess so far, one thing about that USGS, about that stream is that I don't think it's happening in this area yet, but I know USGS is like updating stream stats with like stormwater features to like incorporate that into the flow models in stream stats. I don't know, I went to a meeting with USGS people and heard about that project that they were working on. So hopefully one day that will spread everywhere. That stream will be
road
better
is that?
represented.
What road is that rug lumber spot on again? What's the name of that road? Just look up Main Street. Street. I'm just curious.
What's the name of the school?
Well, there's two different,
'Cause it was named the same name, because I went looking for it near the school, because the school, what's it called? Oh, Newton Street. So it was Newton Street.
Oh, okay.
so Newton Street is where it goes behind the school. And then from there it crosses southwest under Mohawk Trail. Kind of near Newton Street, actually. And then it follows along Mohawk Trail on the southern edge to the traffic circle, the southeastern edge of the traffic circle, and then it flows south, or from the south. If that makes any sense.
Is it the same one that we've dealt with that's on the side of with Big Y? Where they've
No, that's a different one.
That's a different one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I can share my screen and
Yeah, I'm just curious if it's even mapped as a DEP hydrological connection.
hold on, I'm trying to my thing got minimized there. There we go. Okay. So this stream up here is the one by Big Y.
Okay.
And this one that we're talking about starts like up here, and then it flows down this way, over here, crosses, goes behind the school, and then goes into the Green River there.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not on the USGS, but it is mapped as a DEP hydrological connection,
Mm,
but not a stream.
yeah, I mean the watershed area at Rug Place, which is the street where the rug manufacturing was. When I did the stream stats there, it was like 0.44 square miles or whatever. So it's like just under. So by the time it gets to that Newton school, like it's obviously over. I didn't run the stream stats, but it has to be over that. So I don't know. Anyway. So, oh yeah. So I was gonna say, I'll look into, I don't know. I'm just curious about that stream and like what can be done about that. But that's kind of separate from our ordinance. Mitch was gonna look for minutes from when that was put in to see what they said about it.
What if another thought? I don't know if this would help us make the decision or not, or if it's just something that I'm curious about, but it would be a pretty simple GIS exercise to put a buffer on intermittent streams and then look and see how many properties, like just do a sort of a very, even just a visual analysis of like, if we put the 200-foot buffer on riverfront area that the Wetlands Protection Act calls for, and then add a 200-foot onto intermittent streams in town and see like where how much land is that actually covering? Like what would we be reducing? We eliminate if we took that out of the ordinance.
I
I
had
wonder if
done that. Let's see if I
that would
can,
also be kind of helpful to look at.
I can see if I can find that because I made that. I just see if I can
Oh,
find it.
cool.
The only thing is it's hard to find a good GIS layer for all the intermittent streams.
Right.
It would be really nice, just throw it out there, if we had a city GIS portal for like, like Amherst has, where we incorporate approved wetland delineations and build on, the DEP wetland layer and all of our approved delineations. I know it's not going to be up to date all the time, but sometimes town GIS data layers are way better than the state GIS.
Yeah. If, I don't know, it was pretty difficult to get a client ArcGIS installed, so
Yeah, and we
I
would
feel
need
like that would have to be
staff.
maybe Conscom funded or something.
Yeah, I think there would need to be like a person sort of dedicated to that in the town offices too, which we don't currently have.
Well, it could be
Usually
the,
they're.
once it's set
connect-
up, it could be the agent, you know?
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, that sounds like something the planning department would do if we had more planners in town to
Yeah,
actually manage it.
I don't even think we have digital assessors data, do we? Do we have like a mapper app for assessors, or is it still?
Mhm.
We do, we have a mapper service for assessors.
I think we do. I remember looking at it for projects in town.
Our website's also really slow.
I remember they were talking about how the Greenfield website was going to be updated like 6 months ago. I heard like anytime now, and then they kept delaying it. Hasn't happened yet. So I don't remember. I have this open just because I've used it before, but I think the city like contracts with this Access GIS to host like city data. I found a link from like I think it was the assessors page or one of those pages. I shared the link in chat. accessgis.com/greenfieldma.
I had come up with this, but I know it's missing a lot of internet streams. I wish I knew like where they got their data for that Access GIS, but I haven't been able to download
yeah.
that.
But does Access have better stream?
Yeah, it's
Data?
definitely more thorough.
Oh, this is so cool. I am not seeing this unless I have to click on property records. Oh yeah, so if you click on property records on assessors, that's how you get to that. So yeah, that would just be like wetlands and streams would be another layer, you know, and it would be.
And
in
there
theory.
is a wetlands layer on there, but it's just the DEP wetlands layer.
Yeah, I think, you know, for example, Amherst, again, to pick on Port Amherst, they have like impervious surface area and I don't know, they have a bunch of different stuff. I think they even have like sidewalks and all different kinds of stuff as opposed to just wetlands and assessors. But it's all town specific. I know they have a lot more funding than we do. But it's cool.
One thing
It
that
looks
we
like-
could do, I don't,
Go ahead, Rachel.
is request to change our requests so that when NOIs are submitted or for COCs, or at some point in the application process, we request a digital file of the wetland delineation. And then even if we don't have the resources right now, there could just be a folder of shape files or CAD drawings, or I think we can specify the format. But I know that I've had to, I think the city of Wayland started requiring that with all submissions as well. So that I don't remember if it was for the application for the NOI or for the certificate of compliance. But I had to submit that. And so then even when if we have the resources in the future, then there would be a folder of wetland delineations that could be used.
That's an awesome idea. Do we have the capacity to store the data right now, or do we have limited data storage issues? Does anyone know?
It'd be fine on the drive.
That's a great idea then.
Anyone, Travis, is Access loading okay for you? It was like
It's loaded.
barely,
Yeah,
barely worked.
And like, you have to zoom in a certain amount for some of the layers to show up.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not the greatest, I'll say that. I've tried using it before, but
Right. No, I mean, I've seen it a lot in the past, but I only just realized they did have like a bunch of layers that, you know, like Oliver would have, but they can't play with it because it's stuck.
Yeah, mine's been loading too.
I'm not getting it to load right now.
But Mitch, I think Access GIS is just using DEP wetlands data, I think. I don't think they have like any special acquisition done for streams or anything.
Check again, because I know that stream that we couldn't find on any maps, I know it has that.
Huh.
And that's how I knew that there was a stream there.
Oh, the one we were just talking about?
Yeah, for that OC we just did.
I think there's I've looked at streams before, and I know there's like, you know, there's like different scales of like the USGS stream layers. And I think there's a DEP stream layer too, that I think is even more detailed.
I think it's hydrologic connections for the DEP one.
But does that have like in the attributes, whether it's a stream or?
I'm not sure.
It has a number. I think it's so the ARC code is like 7, and you know, you have to click on MassGIS and look up the metadata to figure out what that means. It's not like intermittent, perennial, ephemeral, which would be really helpful.
Yeah, it's like it's in there, but you got to dig for it. It's technically there. Okay, so I don't know if that got us to any more action items, but we're having a good discussion, so that's what matters, right? Is there anything anyone wants to volunteer to do before we talk about this again? How about that?
Can you remind me, Travis, or remind us what the process would be for changing what we require applicants? I mean, some of it seems like it just happens because we used to require like 7 printed copies of everything. And I assume that since we've been working remotely, that their applicants haven't been doing that.
Yeah.
But what's the process for deciding that?
Well, I mean, the thing about the 7 copies is actually in the ordinance. So, I mean, if we wanted to change
can that just be like taken out of the ordinance and like maintained clerically, like on our website or something, so that we can more easily change, like keep up with the times, adding digital copies instead of paper copies, or how many?
Yeah, so what it says in our ordinance is procedures under this chapter the same as Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act in terms of procedures and forms, with the following exception, and that's where it says the applicant shall submit 7 copies of each application.
If we start posting electronic copies of applications on our website, we would have to change our abutters notification template as well, with the website address, I think, clearly listed, which I think would be great. I fully support that. And reducing the number of hard copies, because we don't really need 7 copies.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess the answer is I'm not sure. I mean, our ordinance specifies that everything is the same as, you know.
Is that,
well,
I thought that the 7 copies though were for like 5 members plus, you know, the agent plus a planning department. Like I thought that was a town thing. If it's a Wetlands Protection Act, does they actually specify in the Wetlands Protection Act 7 copies?
No, that's what it says in our ordinance.
Oh.
Our ordinance says procedures are the same as the Wetlands Protection Act, except applicants shall submit 7 copies. The applicant must submit a complete application and all supplemental materials by noon at least 7 business days prior to the commission meeting date. So, I mean, I think we would have to remove that part at least. I don't know. There's this whole thing. It's complicated because there's the city wetlands protection ordinance, and then there's where does it say that? Then, so in our ordinance, 423.8 regulations, rules and regulations and any changes or modifications shall be adopted and take effect only following public notice and public hearing, a vote by the commission, approval by town council, and filing with the town clerk. Rules and regulations are established to carry out the purpose of this chapter, to explain the conduct and procedures of the commission, and to provide guidance to applicants seeking to conduct a regulated activity. Failure by the commission to promulgate such rules and regulations or a legal declaration of their invalidity by a court of law shall not act to suspend or invalidate the effect of this chapter. At a minimum, these regulations shall reiterate the terms defined in this chapter, define additional terms not consistent with the chapter, and impose filing and consultant fees. And so I think that could all be handled under rules and regulations instead of in the ordinance, and I think that would probably make more sense. But unfortunately, our rules and regulations also have to be approved by town council. Whereas other commissions that I've seen, it doesn't say that. It just says they have to hold a public hearing and vote on it, and that's it. But ours specifies that it has to go. And so then it's like, do we try to change it so it doesn't have to go to city council and get city council to approve, taking away their right to approve our rules and regulations? They might not like that.
Wait, are you saying that I'm sorry, I got confused. So what you're saying, Are you suggesting that we wouldn't need to change our ordinance, just our rules and regulations? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, I'm saying because it says that our rules and regulations define the procedures of the commission, that could be where we handle things like, you have to submit a digital copy and things like that, instead of in the ordinance. The only thing
I feel like it should be in the ordinance though, for clarity for applicants, because if they Google City of Greenfield Wetlands Ordinance, it'll pop up on the Concom webpage, and it'll be all of our procedures and definitions and requirements and fee schedule right there. I don't know.
Yeah, we do have, we have a guidance document for how to file. So it could be in that. I mean, we could, that's not a legally binding thing. That's just guidance. But the Conservation Commission regulations.
I'm curious about that fact that the rules and regulations also have to go in front of city council. And I wonder if any other commissions in the city have share that, or if this is unique to the Conservation Commission. And I'm not sure that city council would not approve that. I think that there's a lot on city council's plate, and there might be some council people who are yeah, we don't want to waste a meeting discussing your rules and regulations under the Conservation Commission. Please take it, do what you want with it. I wouldn't feel awkward at all about cutting that
as long as we make an argument
followed by other commissions in town. Why just us?
Is that a difference between a city and a town? I don't know. I don't understand city town politics beyond the Concom very much, so I'm afraid to say.
I
know
my only
a city, but
yeah, I was gonna say my only experience is in Greenfield, so I don't know. But I mean, we do have rules and regulations, but all they basically say is the order of our meetings, what it means to have a quorum, that the mayor has appointing authority, what the officers are, board functioning, associate members, conservation land. So, and I think that is where we would add in the rules and regulations, it's specified that's where like filing fees would be included. So if we want to, you know, work on filing fees, that would go in rules and regulations instead of the ordinance, because the ordinance specifies that those go in the rules and regulations. It's so complicated how there's like all these different layers.
I know, but that's why I like the ordinance to just be like,
Just have it all in the ordinance.
yes, have the bylaw or the ordinance, I mean, and then the regulations so that it has everything in one place so that somebody can pull up those two documents and it's all right there and it's really clear and it's just
Yeah.
no more than 7 pages total.
My understanding is that it's supposed to be like the ordinance says like, these are the things that are allowed or not allowed. And then the rules and regulations specify how we enforce those, things. So, and I think the rules and regulations are supposed to be easier to change than the ordinance too. So like, if we said, oh, we want a $25 filing fee and we put it in the ordinance, then you got to go through a whole ordinance review process and like, you know, update your ordinance. Whereas if it's in your rules and regulations, if the city council didn't have to approve it, it could just, you know, be a public meeting and then we vote on it and it changes.
Sorry, Travis, did you say you know whether or not the city council needs to approve rules and regs change, or you don't know?
Well, our ordinance says that they do.
For the rules and regs.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
oh, I have too many things open now and I lost it.
That's all right. I mean, I missed when you said that before, but
Yeah, it in our ordinance in 423.8 regulations, it says rules and regulations and any changes or modifications shall be adopted and take effect only following public notice and public hearing, a vote by the commission, approval by town council, and the filing with the town clerk.
That doesn't sound that complicated. We would just have to do
Just
what we're
go-
already doing, except follow through and actually have some written changes and then post a public hearing, vote on it, and then submit that to town council for their next meeting and then record the decision, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and it might be, I mean, it might not be that difficult, but it does, you know, we don't have the power to make that change ourselves, you know, like city council has to approve it too. Whereas, like I said, when I looked at other city ordinances for other purposes, wetlands ordinances, and I noticed that their rules and regulations don't require the
Really?
town
And
council to.
that was for, those were cities, not towns?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, this was a while ago when I looked, but I remember thinking, oh, why do ours have to go to town council?
Because I was thinking at first, like, oh, that must be the difference between a city and a town, but oh, I didn't realize that that's a Greenfield specialty.
I don't know. I mean, there
So-
might be other cities.
So I did a quick search and found that there's the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee definitely just says they're like Article 10 of their rules and regulations says that, and rules and regulations are amended by a majority of the committee, and a copy of the revised amendment needs to be provided to each committee member. So it's definitely not 100% of the committees have to go through council, but can we add to like the task list or whatever that's for somebody to just go through and see if, I mean, there's a web page here that lists all the board committees and commissions, and just kind of go through and see if we can see whether there's a precedent for other committees that also have to do that
is it?
level of procedure to change their rules and regulations.
I have a feeling maybe it comes from the mass statutes. Since we're established by that we have to go through that process to change, maybe, do you think, or no?
I didn't think so, because
Okay. Yeah, no, that was totally just a question. I don't.
Here's another question. Do we have to have a legal review of anything before it becomes finalized, like city legal counsel or somebody?
I think that's where the ordinance is more complicated than the rules and regulations, because the ordinance, I think the city's legal counsel has to review it and make sure that it's like a legally enforceable ordinance. Whereas rules and regulations are just, we're deciding how we operate and enforce the ordinance that's already been approved by the city's legal counsel.
Well, I feel a lot more confused now than I did last time we talked about this. I don't know, should we start with just dredging up the minutes and all of us doing some research on our own, and I don't know, come back again in a week or 2 weeks, I mean?
Yeah, we could do that. I was trying to look up another example.
Wonder if Mac has info on the logistics that we're talking about here.
Yeah, because I agree. I think it seems like it's two different things, and it is more complicated because we hadn't really been discussing rules and regulations and changes to them before. But it would make sense for me. It makes sense to me for the bar to changing the ordinance should be higher than the bar for changing our rules and regulations.
Yeah.
And right now it sounds like it's the same.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the same, except I don't think like a legal counsel has to review the rules and regulations. So it's not totally the same. But
Could we reach out to MACC as well and see if there's some person able to point us in the right direction as well? I don't know who that person would be other than the director, which seems like a little.
yeah, I mean, they also have what's it called, like a forum where you can ask. I've asked multiple questions in the forum about things that we've been doing, and then like people from MACC answer, and then also people from other commissions. So that could be a place to ask how it happens in other places, I guess. So I can do that. Did someone want to be the person looking at other city committees and commissions to see how rules and regulations are updated if they have such things?
I can take a stab at least seeing what's easily available, like posted.
Okay.
I know the town of Amherst recently updated theirs in 2022. They're fresh, hot off the press. But they're a town, so maybe it's different.
Yeah, I looked at Northampton, their wetlands ordinance, and the only thing it says about their regulations is the commission shall have the responsibility, duty, and authority to enforce this chapter, its regulations and permits issued. So it doesn't say anything about like updating, updating rules and regulations like that. I don't know. Any other complications we want to add in before we move on? This is gonna be like a 5-year ordinance review process.
And we'll have it perfectly
Yeah, it'll
ironed
be
out
great.
just in time for the world to change and another revision.
Or we'll get it all perfect and then it'll get rejected by city council.
Oh, I doubt that.
And it would just stay the same. All right. Let's get back to our agenda then. So next on the agenda is Barton Road Guardrail Repair Emergency Certification. So we talked about this 2 meetings ago, the last one that I was at. Alan Twarog submitted an emergency certification. Mitch, I don't know if you could share like maybe the after photos specifically that he sent you. But basically there's a guardrail that like 2 of the beams were washed out right next to the stream. And so they were doing an emergency certification to get those like reset. So it wasn't just like floating in the air. And the project, Alan and I went back and forth multiple times to try and like work this out. We like met on site. What they wanted to do was put riprap in here, which you can see they did, which was approved under the emergency certification. But they wanted to put riprap in here, and then they also wanted to, he said while they were at it, they were gonna extend this guardrail down like 100 feet to connect with another guardrail. So they wanted to also drill or like dig hole. Yeah, here you can see the person in yellow. Oh, yeah, that's between the 2 guardrails there. So they wanted to like dig holes for new posts and put in a new guardrail down there under the emergency certification. And basically what I agreed to was they could do the riprap to fix that guardrail because like it wasn't functioning as a guardrail, and if someone like hit it, they would have just like flown right through it because it wasn't like seated at all. So I said they could fix that one, but if they wanted, drill holes for new guardrail, that would not qualify under an emergency certification, and they would need to do like a full filing for that. Because that wasn't emergency work like this was. That was just, they're like, well, while we're there, let's do that too. So, and this site, I mean, there's a lot of riprap there, but there was already riprap down in the stream next to the road before this work there.
Yeah,
it wasn't a lot,
seeing
but
just seeing these new pictures and the steep bank up to the railroad tracks there. Yeah, made me less concerned about this particular treatment.
Yeah, and all the knotweed. Is the riprap in the channel though, like below mean annual low water?
It might be. I haven't gone out there. I haven't gone out there since.
So that means it's not just on the bank, it's in land underwater. If it's like,
I
can
can't
I
tell.
annotate? Let me, oh, I can't annotate. But like, it's hard to see. I don't know. It could be
I don't know
Riverstone, it
either.
could be riprap, I don't know. But did the emergency start state specific resource areas like just bank and not land underwater, or did it not state that?
I don't think we specified.
I don't think it should have, but I don't think it did.
Okay.
This was one where I was like trying to avoid the riprap, but it
Yeah.
Yeah, we
was,
tried.
Maybe like when they do the rest of it though, it'll be an opportunity to get them to, I don't know. It doesn't look like there's much wiggle room there, but I don't know.
yeah. And this site, like, it's one of those unfortunate sites where like the stream is cutting towards the road
Mm.
and it's just going to keep doing that. And I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, when they do the or if they do the other project to
I believe they're working on
extend
that.
this. Okay,
Yeah, application.
yeah. I mean, we could see, I mean, they wanted to connect it to this one, so they would be working in this spot. So maybe we could, you know, come up with a longer term fix. The site was different than how I interpreted the emergency certification when I first read it, because I thought what they wanted to do was dig a hole for this one and put it back in and then put riprap on it because they were afraid it was gonna erode up to that hole. But it wasn't even that. It was that this thing was like hanging out in the air and they wanted to like hold it down with riprap. Yeah. Anyway, it was, yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. That's what was approved. So I think, what is the process? I think we have to
We ratified
vote.
it last time,
Oh, you did last time.
and this is
Okay.
just
Mhm.
because
This
it's
is just
done.
the update.
Yeah,
Okay.
they finished the work,
All right. Cool.
and
I forgot that I
And this
wasn't
narrative.
here.
where it went well. Moved in position and riprap was placed on the bank. No other material was added, so no soil stockpiles or erosion controls were needed.
Yeah, it does say it was placed on the bank, but you know, that bank was so steep, it's hard to say that none of it went down in the stream. Yeah. All right. Any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda? Mitch, I don't know if you had anything there.
I don't have anything.
I had sent an email
Yes, you did.
Mitch a while ago, just reminding him, and maybe I'll just remind the commission as well, not that any of us have likely forgotten, about those conservation parcels up on the ridge and
Mhm.
our communication with the mayor. I just want to make sure we're continuing to follow up with that, because I don't think anything's happened, and I just want the mayor to remind herself that we are not letting that go, just because it's been sort of quiet for a while.
Yeah, I did send an
Yeah.
email. I didn't get a response yet. I know they said they'd contact Travis if anything happened, so I'm guessing there's no updates.
Yeah, and I don't remember when that was. I had a meeting. I was at a meeting that the mayor was at for CPC, and she like gave me a brief update about, you know, the how they hadn't done anything at the police department, because that was her whole thing, is she wanted to wait and see what work needed to be done to mitigate the issues at the police department. And so she was saying like they hadn't done any work yet, but they were trying to get the capital funding to do it. And I told her, I was like, yeah, we just want to make sure we're not forgetting about it. So I did have that conversation with the mayor. This was like, I don't know, this was like October, so it was a little while ago at this point, but
Yeah, it's just that we had like a little media attention and some community involvement, and I don't want the strategy to be like, well, once it's all quiet and the dust has settled, that's when things will, I don't know. I just want to make sure that this remains an issue that is important and in front of her.
yeah.
I wonder, was there anyone from the recorder at our last meeting when the mayor came? Because I think that we determined, like, as part of the conversation, we explained that anything related to utilities of a public space like would be exempt. So that there was no reason why any work to ensure the safety and the drainage or the upgrading of that building couldn't happen. And I think that was really clear in that meeting. And I just wonder, like, is an op-ed like a good place to take that, to keep it like rolling and just alive, like with the recorder, or
I think
making sure that their Mary Byrne is, or somebody is invited to the next meeting that we invite the mayor, like schedule another continuation of the discussion and make sure that.
It has been like 2 years, right? I mean, when was that original discussion post? Was that late 2021 or was that? Maybe it was a year and a
Well,
half.
I think there was someone from the recorder, I believe, last time the mayor was there in person at our meeting. I know there was a city councilor at the very least.
Yeah.
But I think that was like roughly a year ago when the mayor showed up there. And I agree that an op-ed is the next step when we need it. I just don't know if now is the right time, given that there's sort of like I think the mayor hasn't given us any concrete concerns, just general concerns, even though we gave her sort of concrete reasons why maybe they aren't concerns. So I don't know. I just think maybe we want to hold on to that option because I don't know that it is unlimited, you know. But I do agree that that's the way if we're not making any progress.
You don't want
Yeah,
the citizens of Greenfield to experience conservation parcel fatigue. You don't want to put it in their face too much.
Yeah, I don't know. I just yeah, I don't want to become like, oh, here's another sort of general article on that thing. You know, when there's sort of an action item or a concern, I'd say that's a good time. But at the same time, we don't want to wait. You know, we don't want another ultimatum time-wise in our face before we do that. So I'm just personally, I think we might want to keep that in as an upcoming option, but maybe not right this second.
Yeah, and I think
But I'm open to other.
yeah, and I think I'm trying to think what I'm trying to say here. I think it's even though, you know, it's obviously our job to be advocating for, you know, this being conservation land. I feel like if it can be a collaborative process with the mayor somehow and less
Exactly, yeah.
antagonistic. I think just because it's like, it's so, it's a little more nebulous now. When there was an auction, it was like, this is what needs to happen before the auction. And now it's like, well, we do want it to become conservation land, but there really isn't like a deadline unless it was going to be sold. So there's not like, oh, you have to do it by this date or else it will never be conservation land, you know.
I totally agree with that, but there was such a rush to get it on the auction block, and now there's just this sit and wait. And I just worry that this is just so. I don't want, you know, I don't want it to go unnoticed. I just want to stay on the radar. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I guess I'll say that my understanding, I don't think the city or the mayor like specifically wanted to sell this and not make it conservation land. I think it's just that city parcels that are taken for tax purposes just get auctioned, and that so they were just like following the normal procedure, and they didn't think that it could be conservation land or something at first. You know, obviously we let the mayor know that yes, it can be. That's why it was stopped. But I think when you were saying it was like being rushed to auction, I think they were just like going through the normal procedure of auctioning land, and then, you know.
They were, but the second time, remember there was a delay, and then it was put.
Oh,
that was a bit.
That
was a bit of a rush to. Yeah, that was sort of like a, you know, here's a very small window.
Yeah.
So that wasn't.
It was enough though.
I think there was a rush,
yeah.
but I don't think it was because of the conservation land. I think it's because it was a valuable house, and I don't know if they really. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the potential value of the houses influence the order and the speed at which things are auctioned, because it's such an unfair, unjust system.
And the zoning,
the way that it's set out, sorry, the way that it's set out, it's understandable that cities would prioritize the buildings that they think are going to bring in the most revenue and not necessarily treat them all equally. And I think that's why that was rushed, not because of the conservation land that's attached to it.
Yeah. And then I was at the auction when the house was auctioned, and the mayor was surprised at how much it went for. So I kind of feel like the city was happy with the money that they got for the house, as what it seemed to me.
She expressed surprise.
Okay, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I agree with Fletcher that we maybe don't need to push too hard yet. I think like I think we definitely want to keep an eye on it. And Mitch, you said that you said you got a response and they said they would update me if there was any change. Is that what you said?
No, I think that they said that earlier. That's where we're
Oh,
at.
previously.
I didn't get a response.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to think if I had any meetings coming up where the mayor was going to be there, but I don't think so.
I think, yeah, I think in the meantime, what we can all do is keep an eye on the recorder and anything for any sort of new budgetary decisions being made around police station repairs and that kind of thing. And obviously if any sudden public auctions arise, but in general, I think keeping an eye on it and then the occasional check-in for the time being is the way to go.
Yeah. And then
but maybe we set a time limit on that, you know?
Yeah. And another interesting factor is that this is a mayoral election year in Greenfield. And I mean, I don't know if the mayor's gonna run for office again, but like if she wasn't, it would be like, this would be a nice thing to do before you leave.
Yep.
Because we don't know what the next mayor is gonna do.
Right. And on that changeover, if we can't get anything to happen, that would be maybe a good time for an op-ed to kind of put that back top of mind for the new, you know, depending on if we had contact with the new mayor and all that, but
yeah. So I don't know. We get into a lot of complicated situations here, it seems. Yeah, Fletcher, you were saying like keep an eye on the budget, and I'm trying to think like the city's budget gets approved by city council in like April or May, I think.
okay. Can we put an item on the calendar? Like, I assume, Mitch, we have a sort of a Conservation Commission calendar. We can add a reminder to maybe.
Yeah, we can do that. We have a Google Calendar.
Yeah. So maybe just like for the budgeting time to put it on there for a check, and then for the mayoral election time, we're kind of approaching it. We can put a reminder on there for us to dive back into it.
Yeah, it's a good thought.
There's also like a capital funding. I'm trying to remember what, so it's like a city council subcommittee or something. I don't know. I just found that March 3rd last year is when the mayor put out a capital budget. That was about the skate park though. That didn't have anything to do with it. It's like capital budget committee or something like that. Capital Improvement Planning Committee. That's what it's called. Yeah, so maybe we could look through that too and see. Find that. Sorry, I found website's not the easiest to find things on. I found like an agenda from 2020 for the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, but not like an actual page for that. I don't know. Well, I can there were a couple city councilors who reached out to me about that project, about that parcel, and I could maybe just send them emails asking if they know anything about funding the, what the mayor was saying, funding the police department.
It's a good idea.
First. Okay. Anyone want to add anything on that? Or should we move on? Okay. Next on our agenda, enforcement updates. Mitch, did you have any updates on any of those?
Oh, I thought we were still on project monitoring. I had something for that.
Oh, I was just going in order, other business and enforcement updates.
Okay, gotcha.
This was
Is enforcement updates first?
yeah, on the agenda it is.
Okay, right.
I think in our rules and regulations it specifies the order in which things have to be on our agenda, and we actually changed the agenda to match it, what it said in there, because I was like, hey, we don't do things in the same order as our rules and regulations there. That's the one time I've used our rules and regulations.
No enforcement updates, except I've been in contact with Eversource. I might have mentioned this, but that property that the homeless are cutting down some trees. So Eversource is aware of it. And we're going to see what we can do there.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the last meeting I was at, we didn't know who owned the property. I guess it's Eversource.
Yeah, someone came into the office we talked about it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So if no other enforcement updates, project monitoring, correspondence, and site visit scheduling.
Okay, here we go. Now I have, it's not really a big update on anything, but I just put together just where we're at for all our order conditions, in case anyone was curious.
Oh,
Nice.
But we're actually, a lot of them are done, and we're just kind of waiting for the spring for things to stabilize, and then a lot of these could submit an RCOC.
I wonder if, are there any that are like close to expiring that should be submitting a RCOC?
So I put them in order, and
Oh yeah.
this one's coming up. This one has been done. They thought they were all set, but I've been reaching out to them, and they're working on it.
Okay, yeah, I was
This is
gonna
the
say,
one
if,
that-
if there were any that were close, we should probably remind them.
They were going to extend it, and then we came out, and it turns out the one that they were extending was already done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's great, Mitch. Thank you.
No problem. I mean, this one's done. Just waiting for the spring. And then the other thing was Chris Warner is submitting an COC for the Verde Drive from that order conditions from 2005.
Okay,
So he did all those partials, and now it's just the full one. And I guess I'm just
then
wondering.
it'll be done, huh?
Yeah, I think we're all excited to be done. We'll probably do a site visit. So I don't know if anyone, just because it's a complicated one, if anyone wants to figure out when is a good time to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think generally it seems like weekends are probably better for people, but weekends and evenings it seems like are the best. But
Yeah,
if that
gets dark
doesn't work
fast.
out, yeah, I would schedule it when you can, I guess, and we can try to make it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'll
I
see what works
also-
for him and then let you guys know.
I don't remember if I saw this in the paper or where I saw it, but I saw that Verde Drive had been submitted to be accepted as a town way to the city of Greenfield. And I was like, Verde Drive, where do I know that from? And then I was like, oh yeah. I remember.
I didn't see on your, I don't know if I read the whole list. Did you ever look into the pizza place? That's next to like Planet, whatever it's called, Planet Gas or whatever, something.
It's right above that stream.
Athens Pizza or
Right.
something?
Oh, yeah.
It's
But
right
they,
above the
just-
but
stream.
is that an
they
old
were
project?
building a new place down by Planet Gas, and it's still just sort of a concrete, shell right now.
Yeah, I think
There's
there's a
sign outside of it, so.
there's like a DEP number outside
Yeah.
on the building.
How
But
old is
they-
that? I wonder.
I know
It's
they were,
old.
2 years at least,
That's
yeah.
it. So
Well,
maybe
they were
more,
kind of
maybe like
confused
3
the
years.
time. They were confused the last time. They didn't realize, because they had gotten that original DEP number like 10 or 15 years ago, and then ran out of money. They did the initial, they did one step, they ran out of money, and then when they got some money, they kind of just put the sign back in the ground and started working again. And so they might just need some guidance as
yeah,
far
I can
as like
check.
what
It looks like
steps.
it's 105 Mohawk Trail.
105
Yeah, sounds right.
Mohawk. I had thought I had all the ones that are active at the moment.
That
I
one
missed
might
that
be
one.
expired.
Okay, then that would be why. But
Because they were there,
I can
they
reach out.
came to us because it was already,
Because it was already
Um,
expired, I think.
right.
you
But
know?
that was for the same site, or did they move the site at that point?
No, I think it was the same site because they had done this bank stabilization
Right,
Like-
right.
years ago. And then, like I said, I think they ran out of money and they, so they waited and then we're starting
Right.
back up again.
I think the pandemic probably threw them a curveball there.
Right. I was gonna say,
Well,
I think
and that also extended thing, like
Yeah.
it made things not expire until later.
Was that for the hotel? Because there was no.
No, that was a
It was
different.
next
It
door.
was nearby, but
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. 'Cause
it's
that
it's
guy
it's
did
right
apply.
there- yeah, no, it's right at that intersection where Newton Street is, whatever, right across the street from there. So
Hmm.
here I can show you where. So it's this spot right
Mhm.
here, and that hotel
it's really is, yeah.
is right here. This is torn down now.
Yeah, and we did have an applicant apply for an extension during the or right after the pandemic lifted-ish.
Yeah, that was for
think
this
that-
site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And this one,
Apparently, and I guess he's renting that space out now for car storage or whatever, or vehicle
yeah.
storage.
Oh, I was gonna see if this had been updated and it showed like the current state with the DEP file number.
oh, boy.
But right now, this has just been like a concrete block building for years.
Yeah,
Mm.
a couple years now.
Nothing happened beyond that.
Yeah.
This is where it is. Looks like they were tracking some dirt out here. That's not good. And it is running down, and then into that stream that we were talking about earlier.
I don't even see a construction access pad. It's just straight asphalt and sidewalk.
Actually, I think I do know what's going on with that one. So, right, it got sold to a car dealership.
No, that's a different one.
No,
Is that a
that's,
different one?
That one's 2 parcels away.
Okay.
that actually gets
That
sold?
one's this one.
That other one did.
Did that get sold so that they're not building a hotel anymore, or?
No, they're doing a car dealership now.
Oh, okay. I thought they was renting land out while they were getting their money, ready to build or whatever.
So are they filing with the Concom or? If it's,
So where we're at is we're talking about that other one, 125 Mohawk.
yeah,
DEP suggested that they stabilize the site, get an RCOC for being incomplete, because they're not doing the hotel, and then do a new OOC for what they are doing.
That makes sense.
okay.
Right now, they're just parking cars there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I guess if you could maybe figure out what's going on with 105
Okay.
Mohawk Trail. See,
Right.
I mean, it did have a DEP number. I don't know what the number was, but
Okay.
we
Well, worst case, I
probably
can
have
drive by
files
and
on it somewhere.
get the number.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, I think the numbers last time I think last time I went by, it's still there, so
Yeah, you can just drive by and
You
take a
may-
picture.
drive by and see what the number is.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the is it 5 Deerfield Street, Erica, the redevelopment, the riverfront redevelopment. I don't think they ever came to apply for a COC either. So I think that would be another one that would be expired probably.
The one, you mean the one that got to the town to do the mitigation, right?
Yeah, the one that convinced
Yeah.
us to transfer the
Right.
enforcement order to the town for their mitigation at Highland Park.
We talked about that. We said when was that? It was like at the end of fall 2022. We said we were gonna go check it in 2023 to see if the erosion controls could be removed. I remember talking about that recently. But it might be an expired. They might, the city might want to close that out.
Was that why they wanted to switch to the town so that the building, so the developer could get the actual COC for his building? Because he hadn't done the mitigation and he wanted to move on or whatever. I'm trying to remember what.
That was before I started.
Yeah.
So that's not a question for me.
I'm just trying to remember what his reasoning was, why he couldn't, do the mitigation himself.
No, there was some argument between the town because there was soil that that the town offered soil because the mitigation was happening at Highland Park, and then they felt like the reason why the mitigation failed, or that there was an erosion or enforcement order, was because of the soil that was brought, so it was the town's fault, so they wanted it to the fault. But I don't think that would have removed the like order of conditions from the original. Also, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to go because
Okay.
this girl needs to go to bed. I'm sorry, I can't like fully participate right now.
Okay. We're about to finish up anyway.
So I apologize, but yeah, we're gonna say it's so long. It's been fun. I didn't yeah, sorry, I didn't think that she was going to have to hang out with me for this long, but she did, so she's
right.
done.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, yeah, so I don't know, is that, Mitch, do you know about that? Do you have enough information to look into that one?
I can look into it. I don't know anything offhand. It seems like it's old. It's expired.
I guess. So she said 5 Deerfield Street. Is that what she said?
Yeah,
Was
it
that
was
address?
it was supposed to be low income housing. They built like, I don't know, 2 buildings that have like, I think 2 or 3 condos in each one. Right next to Regary's, or right up to, or I think 2 houses up from Regary's.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can check in.
Okay. All right. Any other enforcement? Or
Yeah, I don't know if we want to tackle this right now, but keep putting it off. I feel like, or at least I do, is 21 Spring Terrace, where there isn't an enforcement order, but I think they're supposed to plant bushes and they haven't, and they won't respond now. So I don't know where we're at. I don't know if you know what that looks like, just because you're right over there, Travis.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they've planted anything. I think I realized afterward that I think the way our property lines align, I think maybe technically we're abutters, so I think I have to recuse myself from any determinations on that one.
Didn't we provide him with a list of options and requested that he provide us with the proposal before he implements it? Is that what the one?
I think that's a different one.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's plain.
Okay, sorry.
So there's no enforcement, so I don't think we have to. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, is this the one where she like made her driveway bigger, I think, or something? Okay, yeah.
Oh, and then she wanted to plant rose bushes.
Rose bushes, yeah.
And we were like, yeah, no. That was when I first joined the commission. I will say that was one of the very first projects I remember hearing the commission discuss. So that is old.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not responding, Mitch.
No, I haven't gotten a response lately.
But you said there was no actual enforcement for her, or
right? It wasn't anything ever issued.
I think maybe
I don't know that we have to do
anything. We were trying to just sort of do it neighborly and have them just
right, which is a good place to start.
Yeah.
So I don't know if our options are to do an enforcement order or to just drop it. I don't know.
And maybe another question for the circuit rider. I don't know.
And well, has anybody? I mean, I don't know. Travis can't answer this, but has anybody just checked over there to see what it looks like? I mean,
I think Travis can provide info, but just not vote.
I mean, it looks the same. I think what the commission said was they wanted, we wanted some sort of native bushes planted, like at the end of the driveway. And there aren't any bushes planted. It's just the driveway. So it,
Okay.
yeah, I think the thing was that it, you know, it was increasing impervious surface, and
Impervious.
it's like within the buffer zone of wetland and
Riverfront.
riverfront area.
Yeah.
I
Was it
don't,
riverfront to perennial stream? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Fletcher.
No, no, good.
I would have to check.
Okay, no big
the-
deal. Just
Yeah,
curious.
I think it's shown as intermittent. I think USGS has it as intermittent, but it might be perennial with stream stats.
I don't remember this particular one. I mean, I remember hearing about it, but not the actual hearing. But was the applicant reluctant or very amenable, or does anybody remember?
I remember her being amenable to that. So she was like, "Oh yeah, sure, I can plant some, you know, some bushes." And
Yeah,
That was my impression as well from old emails from a different agent.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because I think that was Cassie was handling that, and
Hmm.
you know, it was one of those things where she didn't realize what that what she was doing was wrong, and she was like, "Oh sure," you know.
Mhm.
Maybe we could send her a plant list to sort of make another attempt at rekindling the relationship there.
Yeah. Maybe an
Uh,
invite to a meeting
Mhm.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking. Kind of a, I don't know. If somebody sent me a letter saying we request your presence at the upcoming town meeting, I would feel obliged to attend.
Mhm.
And I think I would get the idea that something might happen after that if I didn't do it. So
Yeah,
without actually having to say that.
yeah, even though it's just a request, it's not a requirement or a
Right.
demand. It's just, I would just
Right.
feel that personally. I don't know. I think that's
But without
good
without
job.
actually saying like, if you don't do this, we're gonna have to, issue an
Yeah.
enforcement.
I'm trying to do stream stats on that right now, and it failed the first time, and now it's taking a long time and it's not working. Oh, it did do it. Yeah, so stream stats shows the stream flowing in the opposite direction of the way the stream actually flows.
Oh,
Oops.
Because yeah, so it shows the it shows the
drainage areas in the
water,
wrong.
yeah, the drainage area to the north, but it flows to the north of.
Hmm.
That stream is weird. I mean, that's the stream that comes from Highland Pond. And I know it doesn't flow into Highland Pond that way.
No.
And it flows north to Freeman Drive where it goes into a culvert, and then it goes through a bunch of culverts through town all the way to Miller's Meadow, where it comes out. That's the stream that comes out there.
Wow.
Okay.
I did this whole research project finding old maps, and I'm like, where does this stream go? And I found old maps showing it used to go right through downtown. Now it's all culverted all the way.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Stream stats isn't the most reliable.
Especially for smaller streams or streams that are
Yeah.
like really heavily inputted by stormwater and
Yeah.
affected by impervious surface area. It's really
Mhm.
wonky.
Yeah.
So we pretty much through the agenda at this point?
Unless Mitch has any more.
No, that's all I got.
Okay. Yeah, that is.
I just want to read a funny little thing from Access GIS here. It says it's a responsive application, which means you can access and edit your data in the field using mobile devices in real time.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that applies to our Access GIS or not, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Mine still never
Doesn't seem like
loaded,
it.
BT dubs.
yeah, yeah.
I have gotten it to load in the past.
Oh, well, that's promising.
Yeah. And I will say it used to be mainstreetmaps.com/Greenfield. And that worked really well. It was super fast and responsive. And then one day I went to that website and it said, oh, this is now Access GIS. And then it was like slow and like clunky and it wasn't working. I was like, oh, we really downgraded here.
I wonder who Access GIS pitched it to that then adopted it. Whether it had to be like the planning board or just go to the IT person.
I think either Access GIS bought Main Street Maps or
Oh,
Main
right,
Street
right.
Maps turned into Access GIS.
Okay, no,
Because
that
it
sounds familiar, yeah.
redirected, like their website redirected.
Mm.
So,
Right.
some sort of corporate merging or something. I don't know.
Right.
Reducing competition and making things worse. Yeah.
Classic.
All right. So the last thing on our agenda is setting the next meeting date, which is Tuesday, January 24th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. A lot of times I forget to read that for these meetings. So that's our next
All right.
meeting.
Got it.
Any motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
And all right, all in favor of adjourning? Aye.
I
Bye.
All right, we are adjourned at 8:08 p.m.